A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine. Today we want to get to the bottom of the question of how we can stay young and healthy for a long time. And I have an expert, a health analyst with me, Per Seberg, unfortunately not in person but via a video call from Mallorca. And I'm really looking forward to getting to the bottom of this exciting question with him today. Hello, Per.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my pleasure. The topic of staying young, that the cells stay young, is very important. And it's not even about the optical aspect, but really with the background that a cell simply remains healthy, remains active, that we can really get the most out of our lives and can be able to enjoy it without having to suffer from a lot of pain, inflammation or illness. And of course, with your years of experience, you are really an expert in the subject. Where do you think is the key to a young, dynamic, healthy cell?
I think we should just take a look at nature. Pick out a few examples. How does nature deal with it? There are a few animals, parrots or something, they get very old. Then there are tortoises. So the Galapagos tortoises, we know they can get 200 years in any case, maybe even older. It was found that their organs don't age. With lobsters, a lobster was released from a pool in an American hotel, I think it was in New York. It was already over 120 years old. They even say lobsters don't age at all. Then there's a shell. They have proven that it's 500 years old. Then there's a worm that can be broken up into 276 parts, and a complete animal grows back out of each part. Then there's another animal. You can cut off its head, the head grows back. Then there are polyps, which are theoretically immortal. So there is something in nature how aging can be avoided. And the question is, what is it? In all of these animals, or in all of these phenomena, it was found that the oxidative processes do not lead to damage there. They can fend them off somehow. And then they also have the problem of telomere shortening in the cells. With chromosomes, the cells can divide as long as I still have telomeres there. Or these are amino acids, or
proteins?
Base pairs. So when we're born, we have about 15,000 base pairs on our chromosomes, and they protect the chromosomes from fraying. But with each cell division, the base pairs are shortened. And when I'm down to 5,000 base pairs, that cell can't divide anymore, and that's it. And these animals then have a repair enzyme. And this repair enzyme is called telomerase. Elizabeth Blackburn also won a Nobel Prize for the subject by explaining the interdependence of this subject. And now it's about how can I activate this telomerase, so to speak, so that this telomere shortening does not take place. And Elizabeth Blackburn bases this on vitamin D3 and a healthy lifestyle and regenerative sleep and all such things. But you have to know, the pineal gland is our most important master gland, over there at the top of the spine. When it is well, it produces a hormone called epithalamin. And the hormone in turn stimulates all cells to produce telomerase, to prevent telomere shortening.
And the epithalamin, how do I find it? When I say, OK, the pineal gland, I've no idea whether it's making enough of it or not. Can I also supply this, or does it make more sense to support the pineal gland?
I'm not a friend of too much supply, frankly. Basically, you have to enable your body to do its own job, because it's all so complex. If I could take this as a dietary supplement, I don't know, I've never checked this, it can have many side effects. It may end up somewhere where it's not allowed to go. So if I take a drug now, it has a purpose. But I don't know if it doesn't have 10 other side effects too. And that's why you always have to force nature, because this is an overall control, an overall system that's provided. And it's about optimizing the pineal gland so that it can do the job of producing this hormone, as well as melatonin at night. I mustn't prevent it from being able to produce this melatonin at night through external influence. Another reason for aging is collagen depletion. So when I have less collagen, it's also that the cells get smaller, and then also have a lower electrical cell membrane voltage. So all of this has to be prevented in a certain way. Oxidation processes shouldn't be harmful. Then I have too many free radicals, this damages the mitochondria, it damages cell division. Then the cell environment has to be good, because that's the be-all and end-all. If I have a bad cell environment, I have hyperacidity. I don't have good detoxification, I don't have good purification. And what I basically recommend here at my Cell Energy Centre to say, okay, what is the maximum that can be done to optimally represent the whole process, then if I have a good cell environment, the cell does not have to divide as often. And we know the Hayflick limit, a normal cell has a limit that can divide a maximum of 30 to 50 times, depending on the cell unit, and then it's over. But if I can put it off, these 50 divisions, then mean 150 years and not 50 years. And now I have prepared a little video on how you can do a lot by using energy and optimizing the cell environment. Maybe you can just show that.
Yes, let's look at that. You can now see the probe with the fluorescent tube, but what does that have to do with rejuvenation?
It has a lot to do with rejuvenation. So I have to create an optimal cell environment. What do I do with it? Because I do several things with this handheld probe. With the cell tuner device, I have a scalar carrier wave, which already does have a lot in itself. Then I have an in-phase oscillation with the mitochondria. And the mitochondria are also crucial to the war on aging. If I had bad mitochondria, these are our energy centres, these are the centres that are also responsible for apoptosis, so the controlled cell death. An old cell must not stay in the body too long, because that could then change into a tumour or cancer cell. It has to be eliminated, so we have a physical process that is done by the mitochondria. And the mitochondria also eliminate organelles in the cells that are also obsolete, mutated, or doing a bad job, for example. They also have to be replaced. The mitochondria do that whole job too. So if I have good mitochondria, I also have a long life expectancy because all processes work better, and the mitochondria function best in a good cell environment with enough energy of their own. That the mitochondria are so important can be seen from the animal world. Whales live to be over 200 years old without any problems. Why is that? It's been verified. Because of the dives they do. Whales are mammals, just like us. With the dives they do, they have a temporary oxygen reduction, undersupply. And this temporary lack of oxygen stresses the mutated, the bad, the old mitochondria so much that they cannot survive. Only the good remain. Only the good multiply. For whales, this means that they can easily live to be over 200 years old. And there's a second example. This animal is called the naked mole rat. That's a furless rat. And actually, it has almost the same genes as a normal rat. And a normal rat has a healthy life expectancy of 2 years. This little animal, it works a little differently. Not 2 years, not 5 years, not 10 years, not 15 years. This animal gets 30 years old on average. But it's almost identical genes as a rat. How is that possible? Again, it's been investigated. It has only the best mitochondria. And why is that with this animal? It's also about temporary oxygen reduction. This animal already lives very deep underground, and it goes into hibernation mode at early evening. That means active reduction of oxygen supply. But that only shows how important these mitochondria are to life expectancy. If I have good mitochondria, I hardly encounter any problems.
How could a person do that now? Hold their breath? Or is there any method?
I know so many techniques. It's called oxygen training. But that's quite, how should you say, it's a very sophisticated process. It was actually introduced first in Russian space travel. I always ask people who are a bit older, who was the first person in space? And one of the others knows that it was Gagarin. Then I say, the answer is actually not quite correct. 10, 11, 12 people came back beforehand, but they were dead. So he wasn't the first in space, he was the first to come back alive. And the Russians said at the time, OK, we have to do something now. We have to make people more stable to these incredible conditions within 24 hours. Cardiac volume expansion, bone disintegrates, exposed to cosmic rays, no protection from the atmosphere, no Schumann frequency. We have to do something that we can continue the space project at all. Then they came across these whales and the other animals that are so stable. I don't mean to say they're immortal, but they're incredibly stable and resistant. Then they figured out that it had something to do with oxygen training. And the trick is, you do it at an interval. The oxygen supply is temporarily withdrawn. At sea level, we have 20.95% oxygen content. And you convert this to an altitude of 6,500 metres. That's the maximum load. And now comes the trick. You do an interval, and instead of the 20.95% oxygen, then 36% oxygen is supplied, and this interval leads to the fact that the bad mitochondria also die in humans, and only the good ones multiply, and after 10 times I also have an increase in performance in every competitive athlete of about 30%. They can be as fit as they want, and that's called intermittent hypoxic-hyperoxic training. And then I combine that, but you have to do 8 to 10 sessions so that it's worth it, so that you also have this effect, and repeat this once or twice a year. Then you're on a good path. But what we do with this antenna is we add energy directly into the mitochondria through in-phase frequencies. If a mitochondrion has a natural oscillation of this, we add exactly the same in-phase frequency. We add it into the body, and then they overlap and the amplitude increases. That just means this mitochondrion has a lot more energy of its own. And then the energy level of all mitochondria in the whole body is increased at the same time, because due to the electromagnetic fields, or waves that we have here, we reach all 200 trillion mitochondria of a person's body at the same time. And you still need to know, where are these mitochondria primarily located? So a normal cell has something like 1,500, 6,500 mitochondria, but the woman's egg cell, the original egg cell, has 100,000 mitochondria. Where else do they sit? Where we use the most energy. For example, the myocardial cell makes up 36% of the volume of the mitochondria. Now listen to this. Our nervous system, we have roughly 100 billion nerve cells. They're connected by 1 trillion synapses. And those 1 trillion synapses, it's a firework of electricity. And the volume of these 1 trillion synapses consists of up to 60% exclusively of mitochondria. So what do I have to do then? I have to irradiate my head with the antenna, and I can do that for a long time without negative side effects, to recharge the mitochondria there, because if they're bad there, then it's very clear that Alzheimer's, dementia and Parkinson's are obvious, and that's a point too. These mitochondria, which make up 60% and really do the job there, in the synapses, they're very susceptible to electric smog. 4G, 5G, they don't like that at all, because they also have corresponding receiving antennas, and they don't like that at all. There I have damaged the mitochondrial DNA, because the mitochondrial DNA is like a ring shape that has 38 genes. But they have to do an incredible number of jobs, and this ring shape can then mutate, gene sequences are lost there, and sooner or later the majority of bad mitochondria will take over the job. Because these bad mitochondria, if you need more mitochondria, they have fewer gene sequences, so I don't have to copy as much, so they're copied more easily than the good ones. So sooner or later, I'll have a majority of not fully functioning mitochondria. I have to eliminate that. They need more energy, and they do a great job there, and cell communication takes place. So for the aging process, mitochondria are one of the most important terms next to the cell environment.
Okay, now when I see all these complex connections, these billions of cells that work together,
trillions,
or that you can't even imagine anymore. And now with the topic of anti-aging, staying young, comes this one point. Antioxidants. Now, when I listen to all of this and think, now someone comes along and says, yes, you need exactly this one substance, and then you begin to rejuvenate, that no longer fits into the overall picture.
You have to serve the overall system with nature. And nature is natural vibrations, natural frequencies. Tesla's already said that. If you want to grasp the secrets of the universe, you have to talk about frequencies, vibrations and energy. And then I have to talk about natural substances. We have everything available in nature. And one of the most important foods of all is good water. structured, pure, hexagonal water. That was our original drink. At the best time of evolution, that was fresh spring water, fresh glacier water, just hexagonal. And with hexagonal water, I do a lot, and hexagonal water will also optimally bring substances everywhere, but nature offers enough. I don't need to take 1 million supplements if I have the right oils, take the right fruits. Then I have already brought what the body needs. But I have to have a means of transport that it gets to where it's needed, and that's hexagonal water. And then this antenna has the incredible advantage that with this antenna I can make the drinking water hexagonal, even stable. The drinking water is energetically purified, also a very important aspect, and when I work on the body with the hand probe, I also make all the body fluids hexagonal. This is so important because 99% of all molecules in a person's body are water molecules. Only every 100th isn't. So what do I have to do? I have to optimize the cell environment. Now we come to antioxidants. And this hexagonal water is coincidentally intended by nature to be the most powerful antioxidant in the entire universe. Dr. Patrick Flanagan found out that in hexagonal water, hexagonal layers are formed. One can imagine such hexagonal layers like 1 million honeycomb layers laid one on top of the other. And in these hexagonal ring structures, we also have a different biochemical formula of water. Usually it's H2O. And here it's H3O2. That means I'm missing a hydrogen atom, and I have a higher percentage of oxygen. So I'm already more oxygenated. And nothing can stay in this structure. No foreign matter, no toxin. So I have good detoxification, purification, but through this hexagonal structure, the atoms can share electrons. And now that's the kicker. And if they can share the electrons, we have a surplus. This is called delocalized electrons. In technical terms, it's called the mesomeric effect, and these delocalized electrons form electron plasmas above and below these hexagonal layers. And this electron plasma can now neutralize trillions of free radicals and stop the oxidation processes where they're not necessary. It's incredibly awesome. It's a natural solution. For example, if I now take antioxidants as pills, if I take natural substances with polyphenols, I also have hexagonal carbon structures, where the same phenomenon works for me. For example, when I take turmeric. But if I take pills now, what happens there? Then I have an antioxidant, and that is a neutral molecule. Now I have a free radical here. A free radical is always characterized by a missing electron. And it's aggressive and gets an electron from somewhere. Now, an antioxidant is giving off an electron. What happens then? One's missing. It becomes a free radical itself. I have a cascade that goes on and on. And if I have been taking antioxidants for a long time, in competitive sports it's well known, I disrupt the mitochondrial function because the mitochondria make their own antioxidants. And when they no longer have to do the job, they stop it. So I have a lot of disadvantages in the long run if I take these antioxidants over a long time without taking this into account. And the body has 2 or 3 production points where it can produce great antioxidants by itself. One is glutathione, which is also said to be the mother of all antioxidants. And what do I have to do so that the body is able to produce that? I need vegetables containing chlorophyll, so broccoli, everything that is very green. And turmeric. I have to supply turmeric as a catalyst with black pepper. Then I made the mother of all antioxidants in the body myself. And then there's a second substance called superoxide dismutase. It's the body's most powerful antioxidant. And that's so strong, for example, vitamin C neutralizes one free radical. Superoxide dismutase, which the body can produce itself, neutralizes over 1 million free radicals. And what do I have to do to make the body do that? I have to take the right food again. But especially resveratrol, blueberries, bilberries, dark grapes. And again, always a trick, always with turmeric, always with turmeric.
Okay.
And then there's also a repair enzyme for finalizing the nerve cells, which is used for neuroplasticity. This is BDNF. What do I have to take there? Good omega-3 fatty acids. Again with turmeric.
Okay.
And today, especially in the omega-3 fat area, there are so many new things on the market today that are really fantastic, that don't go rancid and so on. Really fantastic things. And I just have to support the body to do its job. And the handheld probe is doing just exactly that. We help the body to have enough energy everywhere, to have an ingenious cell environment. On top, hexagonal water also has a buffer control. The pH value is not too acidic, measured in the wide blood vessels. It must be completely different in the stomach. So I created the ideal environment there, because the H3O plus ions, which are responsible for acidification, they're neutralised by the negatively charged layers of this. So I also have a buffer control. I can't be too acidic, the cell environment has to be good. It has to be basic, it has to be rich in oxygen. As Warburg already said, a 1931 Nobel Prize winner, in an oxygen-rich basic environment, no disease can develop, not even cancer. He said back then, it's not been disproved to this day, and we can create such an environment where everything works, and then the cell no longer has to divide so quickly. Then I reduce the oxidation processes, because I neutralise the free radicals with the most powerful antioxidant in the universe. And then if all these jobs work, and I also have enough superoxide dismutase, for example, there's another interesting fact that superoxide dismutase plays an essential role in the synthesis of collagen. That means I can counteract the collagen depletion, which is also one of the main criteria for aging. Then it certainly makes sense to use silica and things like that to detoxify regularly. But my main job is done with the cell environment and the energy from the mitochondria.
Okay, great. You mentioned a keyword earlier, energetic purification. Let's assume that we are not currently in a position to get clean water. We take tap water. We have residues in there, glyphosate, maybe arsenic and aluminium. Lord only knows what. How do I do it, or what do you understand by energetic purification? What does this mean for the body?
We have loads of water companies. Their job is to deliver pure water. That means I have to theoretically filter out all inorganic chemicals, but also antibiotics, hormones, glyphosate, aluminium, everything that's not useful for us. I would theoretically have to filter out. Now, let's assume we could. With glyphosate, you need additional filters, and these are nanoparticles, and it's almost impossible. So suppose we could do that. We could purify biochemically. Then a second aspect comes into play, namely that water has a memory. We've known that since Masaru Emoto. We've known that through many scientific studies. Water can store up to 3,000 different information frequencies. But how does that work then? Homeopathy works like this. I put an active ingredient in the water, biochemically extract this active ingredient, it's no longer there, but the information of it is still there in the potency and works.
Okay.
The positive side of the coin, the negative side of the coin, let's assume I could biochemically filter out everything that doesn't belong in there, difficult enough as it is. But then I always have the information about these substances which are no good to me in the potency. That works against me. That's why I have to energetically purify water. And how do I do that? I can do that with the handheld probe, because I have much stronger information frequencies, which completely overwrites the others. All the information frequencies, which are the original control signals, then get into the water. Energy impulses enter the water. Water can also store energy. Hexagonal water stores 3 times more energy than normal water and gives it to the cells, and then it also has an energy generating effect in the body. So I've already done quite a lot when I do it that way.
Great. Where can you get information if you say you want to learn more about the topic?
I'll go to the quantisana.ch website. I provided a couple of documents for it too.
Okay, great. Well, it was nice again. Now I'll see that I'll start all the rejuvenating molecules, and thank you for the interview. And see you soon, dear Pia. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Always exciting what Pia has to report, what all the actions in the body entail. I always find it impressive with how many numbers we are confronted and how complex and ingenious our body is. And if we already notice, just by adding turmeric that comes from nature, what help that alone can bring. It's just so great. I hope you're able to take something with you. And thank you for watching. See you. Bye.